Hello again. In this video, I'm going to share with you some resources that I use when playing StarCraft 2 co-op. I use two monitors, so I usually open these help files on my second monitor so that I can reference them during the game. If you don't have two monitors, you can use your phone or write down the numbers on a piece of paper and put that in front of you. I will go through each of these resources and briefly talk about them. Pause the video if you want to screenshot any of these. Let's begin. First one, we have Brutal Plus. So this is how much experience you need for the next level. This is just a quick reference to see whether or not you need to go for a random map or bonus. Here is a list of troublesome mutators for anyone who's doing Cradle of Karax, which is where you just do Brutal plus 6 and you try to finish the first objective in 1 minute so that you get 13,200 EXP. Next, these are the maps that Dead-Based Cheese work on, and these are the maps that they don't work on. The Dead-Based Cheese is basically, to explain it simply, is basically where you hide buildings or you kill your own buildings so that Amon's units will stay still. Attack waves will still go to your main, but you can hide buildings in other parts of the map and the enemies won't find them. These are the commands that you can use on Maguro map's Dead of Night in order to choose the Special Infested and the boss. Here are the P1 effects and Stronger Death effects for Han and Horner. This is a list of maps where the gases are far away and you should have 4 workers. This is a list of aggressive deployment timings for Protoss. For some reason, Protoss attack waves are every 2 minutes 5 seconds, and the other two races are every 2 minutes 10 seconds, except right here, which is even stranger, but that's how it is. For the other two races, here's a list. I stopped at around 30 minutes because most maps are over by then. And by this point, if you haven't died, you're probably fine. If you were going to die, you would have died earlier. Gift exchange timings. 2025 is red because after 20 minutes, it's every 1 minute 40 seconds instead of every 2 minutes 10 seconds. Here is a list for the timings of killbots and how many kills you need for each one. This is the list I use for propagators. The first one comes at 3:30, then at 9:30 it's about once every minute. So at every 30 more will come. At 12:30 2 will come at a time. At 18:30 4 will come at a time. Starting from 20:30 it's every 50 seconds instead of 1 minute. And at 23:50 5 will come at a time. Void rifts. First 2 rifts at 2:20, and then at 8:20 this is when you have 4. At around 9:50 you'll get air units. At 17:20 they will start sending casters like ravens, and after 20 minutes they will send hybrids and other big units. Here's a list of all the mutators and the icons. Here are the options for Maguro maps. If you use the options command in Chain of Ascension, you can choose the first wave location and the different hybrids. Generally, I will choose one of these combos that exist in the game. So a combo like Behemoth Reaver doesn't exist in the game according to StarCraft 2 co-op. So I generally don't choose something like that. Here are the options for minor evacuation. You can choose which ships are disabled so that you can kind of plan. It's really annoying when the expo ship is gone for the first one and you have to restart. So generally I just choose one of these two so that the Expo one is always available. Mal Warfare, you can choose where the locks are. You would need to know the patterns of the locks though. Scythe of Amon, you can choose where the first wave, 5th, 7th, 8th, 6th, 8th, and 9th. So you can choose where they come from. The rest are fixed. Temple of the Past, you can choose the wave pattern and the hybrid for Terran. And again, here are the possible combinations for the hybrid. This one is for Void Launch. It says minor evacuation, but it's actually Void Launch. So you can choose the major and minor hybrids. This is for Void Thrashing. You just choose pattern A or pattern B. And by the way, if you don't know how to do this, you type -OPTIONS in the commands area. So you just basically press enter, type -options, press enter again, and you can see this menu pop up. This is a QR code for my personal list. So if you've seen this before, this is a list of my personal runs, like how many I have completed. And I update this periodically so you can check it out. How many commanders I have soloed for each mutation. The total is at 2,119 as of this recording, but that number is going to increase, of course. The green ones mean that they have been solo all cleared. So yeah. Anyway, here it is. Next, this is the one. This is one of the most important ones. So here are all the co-op waves. This is Fleet of the Matriarch, Masters and Machines, Vanguard of Ire, Towering Walkers, Disruptive Artillery, Hope of the Kali, Siege of Storms, Shadow Disruption. You can see what enemies come at each tier. The notes are just kind of there for like beginners who don't know, oh, they're air units, or these waves hit hard, or they have cloaking. I don't really need the notes part. I just look at the pictures. Much easier to see than the one on over here at the top. This one, which I mentioned last time, much easier to see than this one. Next, we have Terran. Terran, we have Classic Infantry, Raiding Party, Classic Mech, Machines of War, Shadow Tech, Dominion Battle Group. And for Zerg, we have Devouring Scourge, Invasionary Swarm, Ravaging Infestation, Brooding Corruption, and Explosive Threats. This is Vorazun's wall for Temple of the Past if you are trying to wall against Terran. This is the northwest wall. This is the southeast wall. Generally, you make the southwest, then the northwest, and then the southeast. So here, this is the fleet beacon. This is the first one. Note that this pole here is actually a wall, so they cannot enter this way, which is why this wall works. This pylon's original spot is kind of tricky, so you kind of have to remember where to place the pylon. And the last one is the Transmutation tier list. So if you're playing against Transmutation, these enemies will transmutate into the next tier, and these guys will transmutate to the next one, etc. Anything that's not on this list is at either tier 0 or tier 1. So one of the most notable ones is Guardians. Guardians are not on here. So Devouring Scourge is like generally really, really weak because one of their quote unquote strongest units transmutates into like a Reaper or something. All right, so that's all I have for this time. Hope these resources have been useful.